But as co-chair of the Village Square with Chip LaMarca, we're delighted you can join us this evening. This event, as you can tell, it was actually completely sold out, and there are people in another room that couldn't get into this room, so I imagine if we open up a few chairs, we'll move them up here. But the other room is on the 9th floor, room 911. And 911, is there a reason for that being room 911? We'll be streaming the event so you can see and hear the entire conversation. At the end of the evening, we will have a question and answer session, and we welcome you to come back up and ask your question at that time. As I mentioned, we ask that this is the one event you do pull out your cell phones. Everywhere you go for an event, when people are speaking, they say, put your phones away. We want you to pull it out. We want you to go on social media. We want you to post, tweet, share the information about the Village Square. Hashtags are hashtag Village Square and hashtag Broward College. This is what we like to call a comfortable forum for civic engagement on matters of local, state, and national importance. And then tonight, I think we knocked off all three of those items, both local, state, and national. But at the Village Square, you'll hear viewpoints from both those in favor and those who oppose an issue. It's important for people to see that individuals with opposing views or different political backgrounds can come together and have an elevated conversation about a topic. We do this through tonight's Takeout Tuesday type event or through a Dinner at the Square event. The Takeout Tuesday is a regular part of the programming for the Village Square. These are always free and open to the public and are normally held on Tuesdays as we want to make the Village Square accessible to all. Our Dinner at the Square event is a signature event. We just had a fabulous one that we were all involved with at the Funky Buddha. And Senator Rich was on that panel, absolutely, on affordable housing, and I thought that was one of our most informative and nice, entertaining exchange. The only difference with tonight and that is we had beer in front of us at that event. So, David, you have some thoughts on that?
Afterwards, I'll buy you all a beer.
But that turned out to be a wonderful discussion and debate, and again, Senator Rich, thank you for doing that for us. Hosting this event, as I mentioned, would not be possible without President Armstrong's leadership and direction. Folks, I'll be leaving office in March after 24 years in public service. I'll be 25 years, this gentleman to my left is one of the finest community builders I've ever had a chance to work with. And so how about a round of applause for David Armstrong? We have a couple sponsors we want to thank, and we'll start though with our Village Square members. So if you're a member of the Village Square, would you rise so we can thank you for being so supportive of this organization, all the Village Square members? If you're interested in being a member, you can get the information at the door or talk to one of the people in here that actually have the little badge on. But I want to thank tonight, we have two official partners here. Again, just two groups, I don't know how we could do it in Broward County without their assistance. One is our Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance and led by Bob Swindell. Bob, thank you for your leadership. And our other one is the great organization that I love to be a part of, our Broward League of Cities, and we've got Mary Lou Ty back there. Mary Lou, thank you for your leadership. And I think that's it for our That's it for our partners and sponsors, and I will turn it over to President Armstrong, who will now take, well, Chip just walked in. Chip, come on up.
The late Chip LaMarca, I'm sure has been something very important. Chip, we're glad you're
Much rather be late for something than the late.
I was just about to try to play your part, but get up here and read your comments and do your deal. Jack, thank you so much for those comments. Thank you all on behalf of Broward College for being here. We're very proud of this program and grateful to Jack and Chip for providing leadership on this as well. The wonderful board members or advisors that we have. We have Rosemary O'Hara in here from the Sun Sentinel. She does a great job. But I gotta tell you, as much as I love all of you community leaders, including these gentlemen on my left and the right, I love my students even more, and we have a lot of them in the room. So please, students, would you rise? I see several of you. Thank you. We have faculty and staff here as well. This is one of the reasons we wanted to do this. I even see one of our wonderful women's soccer players who's outstanding. I'm not going to put her on the spot and embarrass her, but she's also outstanding academically as well. We're all very proud of you, and we're looking forward, all of us, to learning more about this issue tonight. So Chip, you're up.
Thank you, President Armstrong. As a past student here, I know you love me too. So we're at the ground rules, is that correct, Mayor? Okay, so tonight our first Takeout Wednesday, which is usually Takeout Tuesday, and that we delve into another heated topic, homelessness in Broward County. Before we begin, we want to make sure that we have a few announcements to tell you about the ground rules. And tonight we're going to be talking about a topic that we don't necessarily agree on. To keep the conversation civil and informative, I'd like to caution you against what we call team clapping. When you clap and your side says something you agree with and maybe give a little groan that you disagree. We'd like you to do neither. Tonight we'd like to challenge you to work hard and listen to both sides of the story. And just in case you need a little friendly reminder, we have our civility bell, which is in the hands of Adriana Picano. Adriana, Chief of Staff of Broward College, can we hear that? Okay. That doesn't mean the bride and groom are going to kiss either. We've asked her to be particularly sensitive to either side of the aisle and ring the bell if she hears demonizing. I'm not sure what demonizing is, but I'm sure she'll know when she hears it. Adriana, thank you. A portion of the evening will be Q&A, and there is a podium and mic in the back of the room if you'd like to ask a question. As Mayor Seiler mentioned previously, for those of you in the second room, we welcome you to participate in our Q&A portion and ask that you come back up and ask your question in the room. So be conscious of your time when asking a question. We want to get to as many questions as possible. And just as a clarifier, a statement isn't a question, a question is a question. Lastly, I have the pleasure of welcoming our guest panelists and moderator for this evening. Please help me welcome our panelists. We have the wonderful and talented Mayor Jack Seiler, who is also a co-chair with me, City of Fort Lauderdale. We have Dr. Ted Greer, the CEO of Hope South Florida. And we have the lovely and talented County Administrator of Broward County, all 1.92 million people in Broward County, our own Bertha Henry, who got nationally for her work here in Broward County as a county administrator. So a round of applause for all three of our panelists. Our moderator this evening is Andy Mitchell, the President and CEO of the Fairwinds Group, founder of Operation Lift Hope. And we're extremely fortunate to have them here for this evening and encourage you to read their bios in your program book, as these are some incredible individuals. Now onto our program, but before we begin our debate, we will watch a short news video on the topic. And again, thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the evening.
Outlets have flocked to Fort Lauderdale to cover the city's criminalization of feeding the homeless in public. The feeding fight has led to numerous arrests and citations in downtown Stranahan Park and on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Mayor Jack Seiler said complaints from the historic Fort Lauderdale Women's Club were one reason for the new law against feeding the homeless in public. Well, today, a club representative sat down with our Bob Norman to tell that side of the story.
I'm here today to bring awareness to the community of the Fort Lauderdale Women's Club and what we are currently facing.
Sally Alshouse of the Fort Lauderdale Women's Club says there's a good reason the club wants homeless people to stop gathering at neighboring Stranahan Park. Namely, that those gatherings hurt its ability to rent the facility for weddings and other events it needs to survive financially.
Sometimes it frightens some of the ladies. Sometimes we get approached by some of these folks, and it scares people sometimes, unfortunately.
Many neighboring businesses feel the same way, saying the large homeless presence hurts their bottom line.
They speak verbally abusively. That in and of itself, I think, is off-putting and not necessary, really.
What do you think should be done with those crowds?
I don't have that answer.
Fort Lauderdale has cracked down on the homeless in the park with new ordinances, including one that outlaws public feedings, which has led to criminal charges against numerous people and international scrutiny on the city.
I think we could work with the community and relocate the feeding areas.
But those new feeding locations haven't materialized, and advocates say many are now going hungry.
A lot of folks want to see the ordinance suspended until those alternative feeding locations are set up. And I just wanted to know your point of view on that.
I don't think that's my call. Let's leave that to the politicians.
Bob Norman, Local 10 News.
Intermission. Well, good evening, and let me introduce myself and give you a warm welcome to Wednesday night out in the Village Square discussion. Tonight's topic is homelessness in Broward County. My thanks to Broward College for the leadership position they've taken in this. Not too long ago, David, we had the synergistic inquiry process for Operation Lift Hope began in this room, really chaired by Chip Lamarca and Jack Seiler. We had 25 service providers work for 6 months to help us understand what do we need to do to strengthen our current Broward continuum of care. To Jack, Bertha, and Ted, thank you for your willingness to be here tonight. This is a charged issue, meaning there's a lot of electricity in this issue. And for all of you out in the audience today, thanks for coming. And those not in this room down in 911 downstairs, we appreciate that. My name is Andy Mitchell. I am CEO of the Fairwinds Group. I'm building the Bears facility on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Just to set the record straight, I have no business in front of the city or the county of any kind. So I do this because my son-in-law, Brent, lives here, and I have a grandson, Landon, who's a 2-year-old. I care deeply about this community. I want to get back to the time when I was young and neighbors help neighbors, and people approach things in a very creative and open way, and not a divisive one. So tonight, we're going to try and keep that tone. Engage, empower, educate, and employ. That's what the continuum of care is all about. You can take all the programs in Broward County, engage, empower, educate, employ. And we'll talk about various aspects of that tonight. We've already had some ground rules by Commissioner Lamarca, no clapping and boos. When it comes time for you to ask a question, be concise and be respectful. For someone who spent a significant amount of time in this area, I've spent a lot of personal capital. I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings and conversations. Let me just put a couple of tips for the road. NIMBY, not in my backyard. Well, I hate to tell you, it's in everybody's backyard. They're in my neighborhood, you're in your neighborhood, they're on our beach, they're downtown. From 441 to the beach, from 17th Street to Commercial Boulevard, that sandbox has about 500 people on the street, 100 of which are veterans. And at the end of the night, we're going to show you a video that you'll probably need a bunch of Kleenex when you see it. But it will bring a clarity to the issue of how we help these people and how we get out of our own self-interest and be a community again, which is very important. Government can't do this alone. City can't do it. I can't say, Jack, get this done. Bertha, you get this done. Ted, you do it. It takes all of us. We've all got to live together. The solution to this is reflective of who we are as residents in a place we call home. So without any further ado, let's start with the topic, and I'll put this out to the panel. Whose problem is homelessness in Broward County, and what is the role of community in solving it? Bertha, take a swing at that?
Why not? You said it. It's everybody's problem. No, in all sincerity, if we're not working together to solve this problem, we're not going to solve it. So whether we're faith-based, whether we're businesses, government, and I mean the full spectrum of government. The federal government is attempting to do its part in some. Okay. The federal government is attempting to do its part, and we're there applying for every grant that they put out. The state, not so much, but we're working on that. The county has certainly stepped up to do its part, and now we're working with any and every partner, such as yourself, to take this on, to tackle it as a community, not as one entity.
Thank you, Bertha. Jack, comment? Want to go next? Yeah, sure. No, I think Bertha's absolutely correct. I think this is everybody's problem. I think your remark about NIMBY was 100% right. This is a problem that we in Fort Lauderdale have come to recognize can be in any neighborhood. On my way in here tonight, I get an email from Coral Ridge complaining about a large homeless camp up by Commercial Boulevard. And so these, every neighborhood is touched by it, every neighborhood is impacted, and I think every single portion of the city needs to be involved in the solution. And that is also, though, public and private, it's faith-based, it's the partners that we have already. I look around this room and I see so many people that know so much more about the solutions to this issue than I know, and so many people have done so much more to address the issue than I have done. But you look around the room and you look at Hope South Florida, you look at the Broward Partnership, and you look at Operation Lift Hope, and you look at all these different things that have been done. Everybody needs to step up and solve it. All the cities too, and I'm so glad that we have the Broward League of Cities here. This has to be a problem that is addressed.
Very good. Go ahead.
This has to be a problem that's addressed across the board and across city, county, state, working together. I mentioned Senator Rich earlier, but I can tell you, Senator Rich and I had many fights together on the same side, trying to make sure the SHIP funds were used for affordable housing, which is one of the major issues at the root of this discussion. And those funds have not come down from the state as they should have. But it needs to be a collective and collaborative effort for all levels of government and all public and private sectors.
Thank you, Jack. Ted, you're on the front lines there. You're a service provider. Operation Love Hope is a foundation. We fund, facilitate, and influence change. But you're right there on the front lines with your people. You have 170-some people in scattered sites around the city, families and veterans. You do about 80,000 meals. Tell me about the importance of community.
Yeah, I agree with what Bertha and Mayor said. I mean, clearly it has to be a collaborative effort. No one entity can do this by themselves. No one organization or church or local government. It requires federal government investment into local community. Then you need the political leadership locally to set the tone. We have an infrastructure in place called continuing repair. And that gives an opportunity for both the public, private, faith community to be involved and the homeless themselves, frankly. And so they have to be able to. Anything we're going to do in terms of planning to reduce or eliminate homelessness, we got those folks, those veterans, to join us at the table to help craft policy to reduce homelessness. So yes, it's going to take nonprofits, it's going to take ministries, churches, local government, businesses at all levels to get involved in this issue. This is a community-wide issue, so it impacts all of us in one way or another.
Bertha, a question for you. Many of the residents of Central Broward County feel that the homeless are affecting the quality of life in a negative way. With the county having responsibility for human services, people want to know what the county's plan is for improving the quality of life on the streets of Broward County. How's that? Better? Okay, sorry.
So let me start. Your comment was the county has responsibility for human services. I think it's important. If we start to localize a local government with that responsibility, we're missing the mark again. The county has taken on the responsibility because we feel like we have a moral obligation to do so, in addition to everything else that we take on. But we invested in a plan called A Way Home many years ago. It's a program that involved the entire community. It's evidence-based, but yet we can't get everybody to embrace it. And when everybody runs off and do his or her own thing and hope that it has some real cohesiveness about it, we have the issues that we're having. We would love for the community to embrace A Way Home. We have the consultants are coming back. In fact, they're here this month. They want us again to sort of take a step back and re-engage with the community. The reality is the federal government likes what we do. The grants that we've been able to get, they're ranked in the top of the grant. That's where we're getting $10 million a year. And we're getting the $10 million a year because they believe that this is a community that's really looking to do evidence-based activities to address this. So we want to put people in housing. We need to first, before you can deal with any of the issues that they're having, we have to put them in housing. My commission this year, as part of this budget year, set aside $15 million to deal with affordable housing. $15 million. I mean, it's local money. It's there because we recognize that as a community that is in the region that is the most cost burdened with respect to home ownership in the country, we can't afford not to do something. So we're stepping out. We've asked on many occasions our partners to join us. So if we could get the community to embrace us and embrace the away home plan that we're working on, and we all pull in the same direction, we might be able to do something more concrete.
Great, thank you. Let's turn to the city of Fort Lauderdale, Jack. The county is the provider of human services. With that in mind, why did the city of Fort Lauderdale decide to become involved in direct services by providing housing and services to homeless persons? How's it working so far, and what could be improved within the context of the countywide system of care?
Well, one, I guess my first disagreement with Bertha would be on the county does have the primary responsibility because it's a countywide issue, but secondly, the county gets the funds. We just heard about the $10 million that the county gets. The cities don't have access to that. You could go to all the cities, and we don't have access to those type of funds. So when the funds come down, we recognize we need to work with them, but and I'll start, we have this program. I can run through quickly why we all of a sudden got involved. We were the first city in South Florida to ever establish a dedicated homeless assistance unit. Not because we were forced to, but because back in 1999, we felt it was the right thing to do. First city in South Florida to do that. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. They work directly with the task force for ending homelessness. They work with all these other partners. But when you look at what's happening, and I'm just saying, looking at we partner with Hope South Florida, we partner with the Broward Partnership for the Homeless, we obviously now partner with Operation Lift Hope, we've got the Crisis Bridge Housing Pilot Program, we've got the City's Housing First Program, we've got the Fort Lauderdale Police Homeless Assistance Unit that I talked about, we got the Homeless Reunification Program. You have all these things, and this needs to be under, the county needs to step up and not go off in a different direction and say, we're going to do this program that we like, but we haven't partnered with any of the cities on it. And I think if you look at downtown Fort Lauderdale, and you don't have to walk far, you just got to walk down to the library, because it used to be the location where you saw that video. It's now at the library, because we have now started to address the issue that it's not even fair to the homeless to have them living in these conditions downtown. And it's why I've been asking the county to open up the facility up on Power Line. The response was, well, we don't want to open a stockade because it has barbed wire. Well, we can take barbed wire down in one day. I mean, armies have put up barbed wire and taken it down in one day. But I think the county needs to step up and join us in this crisis housing, because we will not permanently house ourselves out of this crisis. It will never happen. And as much as we provide permanent housing, we are going to attract more and more homeless that will come down with the knowledge in the news that there's permanent housing. We have to tackle this at every level. We have to work on the veterans, as we've done with some programs, getting them off the street first. We have to work on housing first and rapid rehousing. But it has to be done in a manner that we're also enforcing the laws, so that we're not just creating this appearance that anybody who shows up in South Florida, and by the way, we have great climate, great geography, a great location, and anybody that shows up is going to be able to get in these programs. That's a problem. We cannot permanently house our way out of this. I'm all for addressing housing partially, and I'm saying the affordable housing partially, but some of these funds have to go to crisis housing, have to go to be able to move the homeless into a better facility as we try to address their other needs, get them jobs, benefits, healthcare, and things of that nature.
Okay. Ted, a question for you, which you'll notice the questions are being shaped here, because I want you to show the contrast between various philosophies. In the end, hopefully we see some real creative approaches to this issue as we begin to start realizing that all of us together must live to be able to do this. Ted, with increasing evidence nationally of placing homeless individuals and families in their own apartments and providing case management and other services from there, And with Broward County generally known for its vast providers network, wouldn't it make sense for the city and county to work with the faith-based community and the business community to put homeless individuals, families, and veterans in their own apartments?
Yes. The answer is absolutely yes. It makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that, one of the cost issues, the 10 million that the county is receiving could go real quickly if you invest in larger, big facilities, right? The mega shelters, the mega housing units, housing first model, rapid rehousing model. I'm a big proponent of it because it's cheaper, number one. It gets homeless people quicker off the street and into housing quickly, and then you provide the wraparound services for whatever that individual or family needs. So I think that that's number one. First, before that though, it would be nice for the county and the city to, let's all play in the same sandbox. So I think that ought to happen first. So the county and the city set the leadership, set the tone for this community. I think then you invite nonprofits, ministries, churches, as I said earlier, the formerly homeless persons at the table. And I think together you would see more success. Clearly resources are needed. $10 million is great, and I think Bertha and her team and Michael and Mandy does a great job of continuum of care. But I think we'll all agree that 10 million is not nearly enough to cover what we really need, and that is affordable housing. I support and applaud the city of Fort Lauderdale, who has jumped into the mix, who have invested, who have sought grants, and we're happy to be a part of this new pilot project at the Crisis Bridge pilot program. We're here to partner. Hope South Florida, if I may, if you indulge me for 1 second, Hope South Florida, we refuse to work in isolation. The only way we're going to be successful is partnership. So that's why we work with 77 churches in this county. 77 congregations are collaborating with us in one way or another, whether it's shared meals, whether it's being benevolent landlords, whether it's crisis housing, meaning that homeless individuals are sleeping on the property of churches. Churches opening their sanctuaries. People are sleeping in the sanctuaries. People are sleeping in the classrooms of the church. So the faith community is stepping up, but the resources are definitely needed. So we certainly need a lot more than what we have right now.
Thank you, Tim.
I'd just like to clarify one
Go ahead.
thing. I highlighted $10 million because that's what we receive from the federal government, but the county in total, we're spending about $23 million directly for homeless. We're spending another $4 million to keep people from becoming homeless. So we're spending, I believe we're putting our dollars where, at least where our heart is at this point. The additional $15 million that I was referring to, again, obviously it is the spectrum of housing, but many of the people in our community, they're just one paycheck away from being homeless. And so you just can't stop at the homeless door. Again, the mayor and I, it's not that we always agree or that we always disagree. In this case, when we talk about partnerships, and he listed a number of programs and activities that his city in particular is involved with, the county's helping to fund those initiatives as well. So they're not just, so I just want to clarify that you can hit the thing, but we're not, no, we have one issue where there's a disagreement, and at some point I'll talk about that, but I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. There is no way we can do this if we don't partner, and I think the communication can be better and should be better. But this isn't, again, where we will disagree is that this is solely a county problem, and that when you say that the county receives a grant, yes, the county receives a grant because we aggressively went after it because no one else did it, number one. And number two, we put up our own tax base, and it's the entire community, and we recognize that. That's why we're able to do what we're doing, not just in Fort Lauderdale, but assisting with homeless issues in Hollywood and Pompano Beach as well, and other places. So I want to clarify that there's a lot more money directly going into homeless than the 10 million.
That's a very good point. Let me give you a contrasting factoid. The number of cycles that the fire and rescue for Fort Lauderdale handles on a yearly basis, probably about 43,000. This is what it was a couple years ago. And I was talking to was it 55,000? We had more trips to the emergency and the hospital system than we do cycles to EMT. Now, if you take a look at a hospital chain, a hospital system, and they have to go in there, and someone's in there for a week, and they're in critical care, you start adding up the money. When you turn the lights on, and you look at all the money that is spent, and how we go about the process of dealing with homeless, it is huge. It is really huge. And that's why I think these discussions that we're having now, and everybody getting on the same page, and collectively getting behind something, collaboratively and synergistically doing something so that we have the power to move anything we choose to move. But if we fracture everything into all these little pieces, you add what Bertha Henry spends in the county, what the city spends, add all the service providers out there, what they spend, and then step into the hospital systems. And take a look at the time that the police officers spend when they have to spend a day with a homeless person at the hospital for 8 hours, and there are 2 of them. You add all that up, it's very, very costly. I want to talk a moment about or ask a question about the affordable housing. Bertha, there was some recent meetings, and Jack alluded to it earlier. What specific ideas or policy proposals that might be introduced by local government in 2018 to address the lack of affordable housing in Broward County?
I'll kick it off, but the expert is sitting right across from me. So it's...
And we agree on that.
You're safe, Ted.
Senator Rich has come on the county commission, and she is about as passionate as they come. And she's been pushing and pushing to help us all understand, which we know, but sometimes we just need to be reminded. We are a donor county. When it comes to Tallahassee, whether you pick the area, we are providing more in our local resources than we give back to help our community. Now, our community is in desperate need of affordable housing. And there are 2 significant issues that the county and a lot of our municipalities, and hopefully the city, have agreed to work in partnership with us to take on. And that is the Sadowski Act, and it's a fund that was set aside for affordable housing. Well, the way that it was set up, the money is not really going all to affordable housing. The legislature has the ability to sweep the funds and use it for things other than housing. Even though the entire state is experiencing a housing crisis, we find other ways to spend the money. But particularly in the region, and I call it the region with that's the goose that's laying the golden egg. Here we are, we're sending money to Tallahassee to help the state to grow and provide the resources that it needs to continue to move from number 4 to number 3 in this United States. But we would like for the legislature to prioritize affordable housing. They know they have a crisis. We would like the money that was set aside for this purpose to be used for this purpose. Now, what funds have been used for affordable housing, it's not distributed on a needs-based means. I mean, it's the money, and I'll defer to the senator to speak on that someday when you all have, you want to limit it to affordable housing. But we believe that if you distribute those dollars based on need, Broward County will start to make a dent in the issue that is very pertinent to the homeless issue, because it's the continuum of housing needs, not just one of it. So that's what I can offer.
Okay, and let me say, one, I agree 100% with Bertha on the issue of the Sadowski Act, and that's what I was referring to earlier, when we, every year, these dollars go into this fund and for housing, and every year it's not spent and it's swept, it's moved elsewhere in the budget. As I mentioned earlier, Senator Rich and I had so many battles on that, and the budget's, I think it's 6 or 7 years we were side by side fighting those funds being swept out of that. But, you look at what's happening here in Broward, and if we try to solve, again, the affordable housing problem, trying to address the homeless, I agree, it's part of the problem, it's part of the root of the problem, but we have to address the crisis housing shortage, and at the same time address affordable housing. We had about a 2 to 3 hour meeting yesterday at Lauderdale City Hall on affordable housing. Looked at the county's plans, liked what we saw from the county's plans, looked at other cities' plans, liked what we saw. So we're all moving forward on that affordable housing. But that still doesn't take away the need for us in the short term to find a way to address this homeless thing. This homeless crisis. We have a 3.3% unemployment rate in Broward. That is incredibly low. That hasn't been seen in years. And when you look at that rate and say, what are we doing to maybe get some of the homeless off the street, into jobs, with the training, with the education? What has happened? I want to credit anybody in this room that's worked on Mission United. I think one of the most successful programs I've ever seen because of the commitment of a group of people across the board, public and private, to fix the problem. But we got to take that same approach to Mission United and deal with the homeless that are out there right now at the library. Because if we don't take that kind of approach all in, we're going to have this continuing problem. That building next door to the library sold. And I think I had sent you the letter about this. They finally said they couldn't, here in the downtown with a 3.3% unemployment rate, they said we couldn't fill the building because every time somebody walked in, they looked west towards the county government center, saw the library, saw the homeless problem, and said, we're not occupying that building. In fact, Bob, I think that's the building you're in as the Alliance, and you've heard those complaints from tenants in that building. We've got to address this on the short term, and I'm with you on the long term, and I agree 100% with you, with Bertha and with Senator Rich. Affordable housing is part of this, but some of these dollars have to go short term to get the individuals that are on the street, off the street, into overnight housing, and hopefully the jobs programs and veterans.
Let's move on to the next subject. You teed it up great there, Jack. The Crisis Bridge Housing Test Pilot Program, this is the 10, is an example of how a collective approach by all is better than any one organization. There are some that would say these organizations can't work together. Broward Sheriff can't work with Fort Lauderdale. Broward Partnership for the Homeless can't work with the North South Florida. And the businesses, they don't want to be part of any of it. Well, I got to tell you, this is a change, and it's a real test. Do you think it has promise, Ted? And what is needed to enhance the effort?
Well, I certainly think it has promise, and just my background, first I want to applaud Andy Mitchell and his leadership to bring the private sector to the table. The business community, I feel, through this pilot has stepped up and has not only talked the talk, but they have invested in this pilot to make sure that we can at least test something that could possibly be a solution to ending homelessness here in Broward County. So the partnership with provider agencies, Broward Partnership for the Homeless and Hope South Florida joined forces to work with the city of Fort Lauderdale, to work with the county, to work with the business community, to work with the chamber, to get folks, as I said earlier, as quickly as possible off the street. One of the ways we're doing that is through relationships and partnerships with the local hotels. The hotels also have stepped up and they have modified their rates to make it affordable for us to work with them. We pay an average somewhere between $49 and $60 a night in most of our hotels. Very nice hotels, extended stay, Crossland, other groups are stepping up to work with us. So what's needed? Additional resources. First, I want to thank the business community. I want to thank those businesses, the Broward Workshop, the Broward Alliance, the chamber who have stepped up and invested. Thank you for that initial investment, but we certainly need a lot more to make it successful. I'm a big fan of it. I think we're going to move to full implementation. The way it's going to work is there's sustainable income coming in always to move this through. As we said earlier, certainly the county's doing everything it can with the resources it has. The city's doing everything they can. So we need the business community, and they are stepping up. So we need more of that, more sustainable income. Two, the pilot says that we need to get folks off the street and into housing, not into the hotels, but into housing within 21 days. That'll be the largest challenge. There are a lot of needs with our homeless families and individuals and our veterans, besides just housing. There's services, or employment, there are mental health services, substance abuse, issues. So we need a little bit more than 21 days. So that's something we learned from this process. It was a pilot, we learned from it, but I'm a big proponent of what we move forward.
And I'm gonna throw one figure out, because it confirms what Bertha said earlier. So that pilot program, $20,000 from the city, $20,000 from the county, $20,000 from the private sector. So that's a good example of all three doing exactly the program Ted just described.
It's interesting because we took this, I can only tell the people in this room that there is a large, very large constituent base that's growing in this community to support this effort. Doug Kuhn was here, he's back in the back from the Broward workshop in Open Core. He championed it through their organization. They voted at their weekend retreat, and it was number 2 of 16 items. They are in it to win it. They made a presentation to the City Commission. So did Bob Swindell from the Alliance is here. Thank you, Bob, for your support of that. And also the Chamber of Commerce is involved. The Florida Panthers are involved. This is a big issue. It is a call to duty to these organizations to step up and support this. Next week we have with Mandy, who's over here, Mandy Wells, and with the folks from the City of Fort Lauderdale, we're going to debrief in Phase 1. Phase 1 was 1,000 hotel room nights. Phase 2 will be 2,500 hotel room nights. $50,000 from Operation Lift Hope, $50,000 from the county, $50,000 from the city, and then we go to Phase 3. It was just initially veterans and families, then it moved to episodic individuals and working with the county. Now it's also the chronic homeless. So we are moving. Most people want to snap their fingers and go, it's fixed. It doesn't work that way. This is a very big, complicated issue. But if I wear a suit all the time, so if you get rid of the suits and you listen to the people that are doing it, and you listen and put their issues outside, you ask them what you need, they tell you, we provide it, we see headway, we see a light coming, and we're excited about that. So let's move on to the next question. The homeless continuum of care, Bertha, this for you, has a proven track record, but where does it fall short in ending homelessness, and what is needed to strengthen it?
Money.
You hear that, business community? The call is coming.
Well, obviously, we have to increase the number of units for individuals to, if you can't deal with their very basic need of getting them in shelter, in a home, their home, it's going to be very difficult to deal with all the other myriad of issues that have presented itself for these individuals to be homeless. So getting on, one of the things that you said was really important. Listening to them. We now have, we are requiring all of our park employees to go through a training on how to work with and deal, and when I say deal with homeless, how we treat people who are homeless. Our librarians, I mean, they're pseudo social workers. We have over at the main library a chat where the librarians invite individuals who are homeless to come in and just sit down and talk. They feel safe in the library, they really do. And they tell you what they need. And I think there should not be any real confusion. All of the activity that you see in front of the library are not all homeless people. And so they're offended when a lot of the things that are going on out there that are attributed to them. So it's about making sure that we have a coordinated effort to get the resources, meaning the units, continue to fund the wraparound services to help them get through the issues that they find themselves being used as a means of being homeless. And again, just taking this other one in the same direction.
Thank you, Bertha. Ted, one of the things that this is not really a question sheet here, so here we go. You look at the continuum of care, and you look at the funding of the continuum of care. Part of the challenges that I struggled with trying to understand, why is it that we have so many people on the street? And then I looked at how the funding of the continuum of care is. The front part of the continuum is not funded very well. It's all in the center. So when you look at all the people out there that are on the street, we don't have housing, we don't have hotel rooms, we don't have Okay, you're trying to deal with food sharing. We started with 3 days, you went to 5, now you're going to 7. You go from 15,000 to 80,000 meals. You know, the front part, that's the call to action for the business community as we begin to work with you and the services there. You know, it's not to recreate the program. The Broward Continuum of Care, Michael, right where are you? Amazing. It is amazing. It is probably one of the best systems we have. But when you listen to the people who work in it, they say, you know, I can't do 85 down this road because there's a pothole in the middle of it. We could put some macadam in there and I can now go. So those type of things are subtle tweaks. In some cases, we have to change the social architecture because the marketplace is changing from, you know, large shelters to housing first, and they're going to an apartment, right? It's cheaper, it's faster, it's quicker. You can put the folks with it. So my question to you is as it relates to the meals, you know, the city of Fort Lauderdale has tried several ways of grappling with homeless problems in downtown, especially Stranahan Park. You know, what do we do with the food sharing and the outdoor sharing? You probably do more shared meals than anybody else of the service provider. There are a lot of people out here that do a lot of shared meals, but you do the largest and vast majority of them. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I saw that video, first of all, you know, so we have a solution. I mean, folks should not be providing meals in a park, in an outdoor setting, where the weather sometimes goes around South Florida, sometimes they're rained on, while meals are being provided by various groups in the community. Hope South Florida, in its wisdom and the expertise from our board, our staff, our volunteers, hundreds of volunteers from our faith community, and our corporate community, frankly. I'm going to drop some names: Target, Chick-fil-A, AT&T, FP&L, all are at the table with us, providing meals to the homeless every single night. As I sit here, somebody's being fed. So we're feeding anywhere from 250 every night at a church who's stepping up. So folks don't have to be outdoors like that. Homeless people, homeless families, homeless veterans are people. We need to serve them with dignity. And so we bring them inside. And our churches give them the best customer service, if you will. The tables are set. They're not given paper plates, silverware, plates that you and I go home every night to dinner. That's the intent that we're trying to do here for our homeless people. They deserve better. And they deserve better than what I saw in this video. And what it needs, again, like I said it, money, 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 money. There's no dedicated source for what we do every night. Nobody's paying us for that. There's no funding, there's no grant that's supporting our shaping this program. It's the goodness and the will of our volunteers, our churches, and they need resources. Some of our churches are tapped. But you know what? They're concerned. They're concerned about hungry children in this community. Hungry families, hungry vets. The vets deserve so much better. And so we propose that there will be a dignified process by bringing them inside, providing them a sit-down meal. We just added a recent, and you probably heard about the mobile shower, right? And so we bring the mobile shower alongside the meal. So now homeless families, individuals, when they come for a meal, they first can have a nice warm shower. Then they're given a change of clothes, they're given toiletries to go, and they can sit down and have a hot meal. Dignified, dignity. These are our neighbors. These are family. These are friends. These are colleagues. It's not just, as we describe homeless as a negative stigma attached, these are just crazy people. These are just drug addicts. No.
That's the engagement side of the continuum of care. But as most people say to me, well, what do you do next? You fed them. And then they go out on the street, okay?
So, but let me tell you, Ted's, he's 100% right. I'm listening to him convinces me that going down this path that we went down with, Operation Lift Hope, this is the path that we have to take. This is the method we have to approach. And on that question you just started to ask, we need to focus on this front because we also need to discourage what is happening downtown. And if we can actually show people that, look, there is a better way to feed, there's a better way to eat, there's a better way to be nourished, and discourage what is happening when people pull up, drop a pizza box off, drop cans of soda out, and take off, and it's a good Samaritan intent, but nothing is done in terms of cleaning that up. It's us that we come back to clean it up or it doesn't get cleaned up. Nothing is done in terms of are they being fed in a humane way, as you say. These are humans. These are people that deserve better. So I agree 100% with Ted, but I think along with that, we have to enforce some laws downtown to say, look, follow this group. There is a better way to eat, there's a better way to be nourished. The other thing I want to comment on it, just so for those that might be following this, comment made on Michael Wright. Guys, I would agree. Michael Wright is a genius on this topic. I don't claim to have any better knowledge. My frustration is not with Michael Wright or what he does. My frustration is we're not doing enough on the front end in conjunction with that. I think if we let experts like Michael Wright and Fran Esposito and Ted here do their job, we'll be in much better shape. But there has to be a level of government involvement and maybe intervention to push the homeless towards allowing them to do their job, to push them towards the indoor feeding, to push them towards getting off the street. One of the most frustrating meetings I ever had, and by the way, Bertha knows this, I've been a fan of Bertha Henry for many, many years. I think she's one of the finest public servants Broward had. She was an outstanding public servant. One of the issues we've always disagree on, two I should say, one is the use of the stockade, and two is not moving the homeless off the streets downtown. When we had that discussion, you all said, Michael, that we interviewed them, but they didn't want to go. And I thought, you know what? We just can't allow 300 people to prevent families from enjoying a library. You can't allow 300 people to prevent families from enjoying a park. And the fact is, I think the number you guys gave me that day, it was somewhere around 308 or 318 of people they talked to, but they didn't want to do anything different. They wanted to stay there. That's unacceptable. That takes a downtown area and makes it off limits, especially a tens of millions of dollar resource, that library. And there are, just like that woman was saying in that video, there are kids that will no longer go to that library because of the homeless population. So we need to combine enforcing the laws and with what Ted's trying to accomplish, and I agree, what Michael and his experts can do, Terry Pryor from our team, they're all more talented at getting this done, but we have to, on the front end, disperse them from just being allowed to live in a lawless way downtown. It has to be more organized and more disciplined.
Bertha, let me ask you a quick question because we're running out of time here. What is Broward County's homeless continuum of care doing to help the chronically homeless individuals who are resistant to help? What do we do there?
So you have to engage them consistently. Your first time, your second time, your third time, your 20th time, your 30th time, you still may not get them, but eventually they do come around, and that's what our statistics are showing, that people do come around. They are just trusting for a whole host of reasons. They are just trusting. So if they trust that you are that you're truly interested in helping them in the way that they want to be helped, because right now they think that they know what's best for them, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. So they're going to go with what they know. But if we are able to show them that there is a better way, a different way, you mentioned that we've had a lot of success in a lot of these programs, and that's because it wasn't because the first time you talked to them they jumped on the bandwagon and said, "Great, let's go." It's because it was constant intervention. So we will continue to engage them. We will treat them with dignity. We will continue to implore all of you to be a part of our way home, where we look at the total needs of the individuals that are on the street, and it is working. And that's, we have to go with what works.
Okay, thank you.
Ted wants to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the challenge that we have is when folks say no, it's not always because they're being stubborn or they want to challenge the law. The fact is, they want a menu. What's the menu you're offering? Is it a hotel? Is it a large shelter with 300 people? Is it a home? They want a home. That's not on the menu. And so they say no. We have to offer, we have to listen carefully. If you and I are asked if we've got homeless, and somebody came and interviewed me and says, "Ted, what do you want?" A home. I have a wife, I have kids, I want a home. So if the option is not on the menu, I'm going to be resistant. I'm going to find the alternative, whatever that may be. And it may be sleeping in the park for tonight. Just for tonight, until I find that menu, that option that gives me a home. And I think The option can't be the jail. The option can't be a 300-person shelter for a lot of people, particularly those who have children, are concerned about their children's safety. It has to be, the goal has to be housing, 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 housing. And we know what we need, money, money.
Well, Ted, it was interesting, we went out, I'm a big fan of getting out in the marketplace and talking to people. So we put a market questionnaire together and went to see one of the shared meals one night. And two pastors and myself, we interviewed everybody having a dinner. And I sat with people, once they figured I wasn't with the FBI, that I really was interested in their well-being. Took some selling, but I got through that. I'd asked them, I said, what do you think about a shelter? Some people said yes, a lot of people said no. I said, if we can put you in your own apartment and get you some help, would you like that? Every single one of them said yes. Every single one of them. So when I listened to the rhetoric about this subject, it's all about talking to people. Ted, you were spot on there. Give them a menu, give them an option. Let them know that you are going to surround them with loving community. You're going to get them on their way. One of the things we've talked with David Armstrong about and Dr. Hanberry and John Kelly from FAU is that we're going to have an education summit that's coming up, and we're going to address and look at an appreciative inquiry process, probably in this location here or at Nova, where we can pull in the top people who have the very best talent and say, forget all the stuff you came in here with. How do we fix this? How do we put back in our community the things we lost when we grew up? So, I will leave this next question up for Bertha. Why doesn't the county support the use of the stockade? And you thought I wasn't going to.
So this is where I get to put on my county administrator hat. And we have a lot of responsibilities in this county. Some come to us from the federal government, some come to us from the state, some we create on our own. We are responsible for incarceration. There was a time when municipalities had jails. They closed, all the cities closed their jails, so we're it. We're the only entity in Broward County that's housing, that's running a jail. The stockade is a jail. There's the barbed wire. It looks like, it walks like, it talks like, it's a jail. And we have our stockade as our backup facility. In the event we have some major issue, it's like our insurance, like everything else. If we have to incarcerate a lot of people, we have a facility to do that. That's number one. Number two, the reason we have been successful in augmenting the money that we spend on homeless with federal dollars is because it is very clear that our community, at least from the county, the grant that we're applying for, we are not looking to have that be the solution. They tell you how to be successful in these grants. They want a housing first model. They want a way home. And everything that's in the continuum of care takes us down that path. So when someone says to me, well, the jail is an option for a short term, there are a lot of vacant buildings that can be an option for a short term. Why must it be our only jail backup in our community? Again, it's inconsistent with our philosophy on how we treat people. It is our backup jail, and I clearly do not want to put the $10 million that we're able to get from the federal government now to deal with this issue at risk.
Okay.
And we firmly believe that we can be doing that.
Jack?
So first of all, so that everybody understands, the stockade's in Fort Lauderdale. This is not a NIMBY thing. This is not us saying take homeless from downtown and put them in another city. The stockade is in the city limits of Fort Lauderdale. And Fort Lauderdale said, we'll take the homeless at the stockade. So that's issue one. This is not us pushing the problem on anybody else. Issue two is the reason why the stockade is, as I said, the barbed wire can come down in a day. The fact is, it has a roof, it has showers, it has lights, it has beds. It could actually be a better place than the street. Is it the perfect place? No. Is it the home that Ted described? No. But as a short-term transitional housing, it is an option that helps people move off that street. And it helps people move into it. And now you can, at that stockade, we can paint it yellow or pink or green and rename it. But at that facility, you can also bring in all of the other providers, the mental health professionals, you know, the Henderson, the VA, bring in people like that and say, look, interview. Have that engagement that you want to have. That engagement, as you talked about earlier, takes place out here. You said 10, 20, 30. Well, that's 10, 20, 30 nights on the streets at the library or more. That same engagement can take place at the Stockade, over a cup of coffee, over a meal, so that's where I think the Stockade on a short term can be used for that. The cost of converting is minimal, and I'm not even sure you have to convert, because I think it has to be used as a jail eventually. You can simply repaint it and put the barbed wire back up if that need comes. But to me, this Stockade is the city of Fort Lauderdale saying, we'll join in this problem, we'll join in the solution to the problem, we'll do it in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and let's come up with a way to move some of the homeless out of the park instead of creating this attractive location downtown where everybody now feels they have to go because it's a cycle. People get fed there, so they come back there. People come back there because they get fed there. And it's just, we've got to disperse what's happening downtown. Thankfully, our business community has succeeded despite having in the middle of our downtown a very disruptive environment around the library.
Thank you. Okay, we're at the end of our panel questioning. I'd like to have maybe 2 minutes from each, if you would. Some comments, closing comments before we open it up to the audience.
I think all has been said. When we act as a community, we can solve a problem. And we're not, at least from the county's perspective, we're open to having any of these great ideas that are coming together because it means we're coming together to solve this problem. It's not the county's responsibility. It is our community's responsibility, and I think we can solve this problem. So we're looking forward to attending that think tank that you're putting together.
Right. We welcome you, as we always do. Ted?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invitation. It's always nice to get the providing community at a table that can this issue. So I appreciate the invitation. And I think you said it, Andy. The issue here, in my view, is the front end of the continuum. We do have a continuum here in this community, led by the county, and I'm with the mayor on that, and Michael and Mandy. You guys got a very challenging job. I don't envy you at all. But I think the investment has to be on the front end, and I think one of the options, maybe not needing a Stockade, is the investment on the front end, is to invest in the pilot project that we're doing right now. Forgive my sales pitch here, but I think that's, in terms of getting folks off the street quickly. You don't have a Stockade, Earth is clear how she feels, it's not going to happen. That sounds like a thing. So what's the option? What is the option? We're not going to have a Stockade, we're not going to have a large facility where we can bring these folks in. My view is that front end, is that crisis bridge or faith in action that we operate, get people out of the big buildings and into scattered sites. And so I think that's something I'm hoping that the think tank and the charrette that's coming out, that'll be a part of that discussion. How do we invest with the front end? How do we get the folks off the street, out of the park, out of Stranahan, out of the library, and into some type of temporary housing that ultimately leads to housing, affordable housing. That always goes well. I'm a big fan of you, Senator. I've been a big fan of you for a long time when I was in Miami. It's good to see you. I'm proud of you.
We'll hook here, Jack. 2 minutes.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity, and I look forward to further discussion.
Well, first, I want to thank the providers, because this is a very difficult thing. You look, and what we have done as a community, done well, is to come together, such as Hope South Florida. That was a united effort. That was tremendously successful. Great leadership in the private sector on that. Thank you, Andy, for what you've done with that. But then you look at the Broward partnership. Look at what Fran Esposito accomplishes. I don't know how many of you have been in that facility, but that's how it should be done from a facility standpoint. Many of us will be there at the first Friday in December for the annual breakfast. Folks, I leave there feeling much better about the community efforts and what we accomplished. One of the neatest things I ever had happen to me there was the day I had one of the people there at one of the homeless that was at the facility hand me his resume. And I was able to pass it along to a hotel. Wasn't your hotel, by the way, back then.
Okay.
And pass it along to a hotel, and that's when this works. But we need more Broward partnership with the homeless type joint efforts. We need more Hope South Florida Operation Lift Hope. And as I mentioned earlier, the most successful one, Mission United, just incredible. If you're a veteran, you should never be homeless. If you fought for this country, you ought never to spend a homeless night in Fort Lauderdale or anywhere else in this country. So I want to thank those that pulled together. But I just think that we have to do more, as Ted touched on this front end, because we're just going to let this cycle continue. And we can't kind of make more progress on the front end and then work with these other great facilities that will continue to make progress.
All right, Jack, thanks. So we have some questions from the audience.
Keep going back here.
Okay. Hi, Rosemary.
I'm Rosemary O'Hara with the Sunset. And I guess I was hoping tonight to come away with the sense of what are we going to do about that problem next to the library. What I've heard, and it's great to hear, that we've got partnerships and we want to work together, and that we have been working together, and that we are making progress. I understand that, families that we're finding short-term housing for them at a greater clip, and that there's a good story to tell there. But the story that people see when they drive into the center of our county is right off Broward Boulevard, where there is an encampment of people who are living there and making a mess there and keeping people from wanting to go into that neighborhood. And it's been there for I've been here 5 years now, and it's been here as long as I've been here. I've heard tonight that the stockade is not the answer. I've heard that we need to work together, but I haven't heard yet what we're doing about that problem. As long as we have that problem, people's perception that we truly are making a dent in the homeless issue isn't gonna resonate, because we see it in front of us every day, those of us who are in this area. And so I have seen the city try to take action. It's been controversial, not everybody agrees, but I have seen the city say, you know what, we're going to do something about this. We're calling the health department, we're going to clear the way. I have not really seen what the county is doing. And so I would like to know, Ms. Henry, can you tell us what exactly the county is doing? I hear you say that, we got to talk to them, we got to listen to them. They want a home, and I think to myself, yeah, I want a home too. I'd like a home, and gosh, what do we have to give them? A home with a swimming pool on the beach before they leave? I mean, treat them with respect, but does it mean that we have to forego this part of our community because until we provide them a nice home, there's nothing we can do? So I would like to hear from the county. What is it we are going to do about that problem at the library? And when will we see it solved?
I'm glad you're saying what are we going to do and not what the county alone is going to do. I have to continue to go back to that. There have been people at that area that have been placed in homes. So we are reducing the total number that are truly homeless. You have a combination of, it's a hangout place. Just recently, we had a contract with the City of Fort Lauderdale Police Department to sort of help us keep the people that are doing things out there that shouldn't be. They're not homeless. I'm telling you, the homeless people are afraid of them. And the city said that they could no longer do that for us again. We've reached out to our sheriff. We're waiting to hear what the response with that will be. So if we segregate this population and talk about what are we doing for homeless, we are using the program that you've heard about to get people in home. We have placed individuals, and we will continue to do that. We have to separate the people that are actually homeless and continue to work with them on it until they're all placed, and deal with the people that are there that are not homeless. It's just a place to hang out.
Is there a time frame when we can expect that this issue will be solved, or are we going to have this problem in that spot till our, forever.
I don't suspect that we will have it forever, but I don't have a time frame that I can specifically say to you that by tomorrow, next week, next month, it'll be solved. This is a problem. I don't care where you go in this country, you're going to see what you see in downtown Fort Lauderdale. We are not unique. The reality is that this community is doing what other communities are attempting to do, find a solution that will help with the problem. It will never 100% go away. That's why we talk about functional zero. But our attempt here is just to continue to deal with the real homeless that are there, get them in homes, and hopefully we'll get some help in getting those people that are just there hanging out. That makes it look like it's all homeless, but it's not.
Rosemary, let me add one perspective there. When the Crisis Bridge Housing Test Pilot Program was put into effect, one of the focuses is chronic. And over the last, we had Hurricane Irma in the middle of this, which really shut us down for about 30 days. We've taken, Gary, 9 chronic homeless people out of the park. So, it's not moving as fast as you'd like. But I'll tell you this, it's like in a bathtub when you pull the plug. Initially, you don't see much happening. But as we start gaining momentum, we get to phase 2, and we start putting the muscle behind it, we'll start to deal with this issue, and the community will see it. The Women's Club is very dear to me. My mother was a big Women's Club person. That fireplace in there, I dedicated to her, and that's about community. So every time I go by there, I'm reminded, get in there and get this fixed. So I feel very strongly that we're going to make some significant moves here. Okay, any other questions from the community? Chip, Commissioner Moore.
So I want to start this by saying that to a degree, when I come to an event like this, now I'm elected as a county commissioner. Previous to that, I served at the city level. So in something like this, I like to look at, before I ask a question, I like to look at something objectively and say I'm politically agnostic. Wherever I work versus what I believe, I like to try to get a straight answer. And we were having a bit of a conversation at our table when the question came up about the stockade. Now, every single candidate who's running for office in the city of Fort Lauderdale or anywhere nearby has called me and asked me why we came to the stockade. And I Google it. Look up the stockade, look at the building. It's the Quonset hut. It's got a jail interior to it. It is, and I'm not disagreeing with the idea that we need multiple. We need a roof over someone's head and the necessities to be able to deliver services there. Homes for the Homeless came, at least the first time I saw it 5-6 years ago, came from Salt Lake City. I don't think you're going to look at Salt Lake City and find out that's where your most progressive bleeding heart part of the country is. But it's a fiscal issue. There's about 75% savings when you put somebody in a home or in a secure surrounding where they can have services delivered to them, as opposed to going to Broward General and walking in the door and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars for what could be a cold or a sprained ankle or whatever it might have been from somebody being out in the elements. Needless to say, people who are experiencing homelessness deserve better. They're no different than us here, and we're starting as a community, starting to be a little more compassionate to the 10 or more people who are overdosing and killing themselves every week, and realizing that it's a disease. It's not something they decided to do. But back to the issue, let's forget about the stockade for a second, and let's look at the business community, Andy and some other friends that are here, and the public sector, and all of the sectors that make up this community, and find out, is there a out-of-date multi-unit, I'm talking about not 4 or 8 Lex, but 100-unit apartment building, anything around, and I'm talking about from Parkland to Deerfield, from Allendale to Miramar. We don't need to specifically say, well, we need to find something in Fort Lauderdale because that's where people are, or Pompano or Hollywood, where the concentration is. We need to look at our county of 2 million people. It swells to 15 million visitors. We can find a building or multiple buildings around the county and figure out a way. We find that piece, and trust me, the public and private sector, I think, can pitch in and pay the bill. I'm certain that we have a homeless workshop with the cities, the county, and the private sector and say, well, we have this building. Let's figure out a way to pay for it. Because talking about real estate values, we're not going to build them. and we don't want to put them in jail, so we've got to find a way to do that. And I don't know the three panelists, but Andy, I guess maybe that's a question for you.
Good question.
I guess he was referencing all theirs. Can I just, not to that specific, but I want to just touch on one thing. You know, and I don't disagree with you, the stockade's far from ideal. But when you look at like housing first, we've done housing first. We do housing first. We're having great success with housing first. The problem is that housing first in Utah, I believe at the end of the day deals with a finite number of homeless that will eventually be in that process. It may have a few more people that come because of housing first. The difference is South Florida, and it's not just us, it's West Palm, it's Miami-Dade, it's Fort Lauderdale, it's Naples, it's Tampa. We're gonna always attract people just because of our weather and our climate. And if we try to permanently house our way out of this problem, we are never going to address what's happening out there right now. Because we're gonna be chasing this perfect solution, and when we find it, it'll be 16 million visitors and 17 million visitors. So we have to address this in the short term without looking at this and, work with the United Way and the programs that but I'm so frustrated by this desire to permanently house our way out of this.
I didn't, by the way, I'm not saying permanent. I'm talking about temporary facilities around the county that aren't just the one on this car line.
I agree, but housing, these programs, they'll work, but when you have an infinite number, we had that one homeless, and Jerry knows the story. We had a gentleman get off a bus in Fort Lauderdale downtown, interacting with our homeless police officers, our homeless assistance unit, and the conversation was, well, what brought you here? And the gentleman said, look, I have to be homeless. I don't have to be uncomfortable. And that's what he shared with our police officer. So he's here because if he's going to be homeless, it's going to be the most comfortable place in America. We cannot use an approach that we're trying to permanently house the way out of it.
Our blessing is our weather, and it's also our challenge.
Okay, we have one last question, and we're going to cut to a video, and then we'll be recognized.
I'll be brief. My name is Buddy Allen with Good News, and I just wanted to first say to the panelists and everyone here, I think you're superheroes. You took time from your night, took time from your day to address something that's really important. And I also want to say for Mr. Greer, Hope South Florida, what wonderful work. We're talking about the mobile showers and things like that. I've never met a person that I can have a decent conversation with that wasn't comfortable, fed, feeling good, had some clothes on. Then you can actually have a good conversation with them and start guiding them in the right direction. I think there should be 100 of those things running around, and funds should be going for that. On a side note, Mayor Seiler, great job with the hurricane. He was in there Facebooking constantly and helping everybody. But all of these people, and we just appreciate what you're doing, and we just encourage you. And I think everybody working together. I'm going to tell you about that stockade real quickly. If you decided to go in that direction, I can guarantee you there's business people in this room, business people that I know throughout the county that would be happy to come in and relieve you of the funding of trying to fix things and make beautify things. They would love. You have, Building South Florida with Robin and the rest of them in Church United and things like that. By the way, on the front cover of the Good News today, you'll see all of the charities that are involved, including Mr. Greer, that you can go to, and they'll be happy to jump in there and start helping. So you have an army out there. You just need to be able to say, okay, we'll allow them to do their job, like you were saying, and everybody work together. But I'm very encouraged by what we're all saying, and I don't want to.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to show a quick video, if we can, and I think you're going to enjoy this.
Streets alone. They never seem to look back. I feel like I'm losing my mind when I'm living day for day. The good life I left behind gets farther and farther away. So won't you take me home to the place that's safe from the storm? Shelter me through the nights they are so long. I'm tired, I'm wet, I'm cold. Don't know how long I'll stand. No pictures from my past. Thank God for giving hand. So won't you take me home to the place that's safe from the storm? Shelter me through the nights they are so long, oh so long.
Talk to one kill man. How do you kill?
There's a choice I know, not too late for change. Don't you see me? Don't walk by me and pretend you don't know. Take me home to the place that's safe from the storm. Shelter me through the nights they are so long. Won't you take me? Won't you take me? Won't you take me home? Won't you take me? Oh, please take me. Won't you take me
Hated to do that to you. Collective responsibility. That's what community's about. We have a lot of really great things happen in this community that get overshadowed sometimes by news media, misreporting, facts that are wrong. Great things. Great people doing wonderful things. City, county, faith-based people, business community, all of us working together. We can change this. We can make this a better place. I thank you for being here tonight and for all you do for us and all the service providers. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and let's hear it again for our wonderful moderator and panelists. So we really hope you enjoyed tonight's Takeout Tuesday on a Wednesday, and we invite you to come to our upcoming dinners. Our next dinner is February 28th, and the topic is a free market for education, ? In May, we'll be debating open primaries in Florida. In March, we'll talk about the job skills gap, and in April, we'll talk about the right to die. So if you enjoyed this evening and believe in what we're trying to do, then we hope you consider becoming a Village Square member, spread the word in the community, become advocates in the community for this type of programming that really helps promote dialogue. Thank you for your support. Have a safe day.